Hi everybody, I'm Jordan Rolfus from Beagle Rampant Productions, and welcome to this Antarctica exploration informational video. The idea is, if you were planning on visiting Antarctica, the idea here is to give you some information on what to expect, and of course, there is no such thing as two identical Antarctica voyages. Even if you do the Antarpply expeditions via Adventure Life in the United States like I did, by and large, you're not going to see two identical Antarctica explorations because the weather, the migration patterns, all of that is up to change, but hopefully this will give you a rough idea onto what to expect if you wanted to visit Antarctica. Over here you can see the Ocean Endeavour, and to give you a perspective on the size, a modern cruise ship is about 1,200 feet long, the Titanic was about 800 feet long, and the MV Ushuaia didn't even hit the 300-foot mark in terms of length, but that made it better for Antarctic navigation. So we were able to pull off some amazing things in terms of Antarctic exploration, and hopefully this video will give you a rough guide on what to expect for Antarctica if you wanted to visit. Alright, so before they let you out on deck, which was what you saw earlier, the housekeeping staff shows you to your cabins, and obviously this is a hallway that you're seeing, and take special note of all of the handrails. Handrails are of the utmost importance to you, especially when you're crossing the perilous Drake Passage, that bit of ocean in between South America and Antarctica. It's very rough and stormy waters on the Drake Passage, and your biggest risk for injury and health concerns is falling down and getting your hands caught inside doors, so take special note of all of the handrails and make sure you utilize handrails. You can even see, this is our cabin here, the beds themselves have handrails, and my roommate Svetlin, a wonderful guy from Bulgaria, I absolutely enjoyed rooming with him, he was fabulous. He had a backpack there. Backpacks are good to put your stuff in, and even if you're just trying to carry a water bottle, you know, you'll want to make sure that you have something in a backpack there so you can have both hands to use handrails going up and down steps. And this is some crazy camera work looking at Ushuaia and the Ocean Endeavour right next to us there. And over here, that's the light for the bathroom, and over here is the bathroom where I threw up doing some seasickness there. The ship medic, a fabulous, really talented medic, gave us some really good pills for seasickness, so they definitely helped, and that treatment was for free, and as you can see, here's a shower. The shower has handrails as well, and I would recommend, you know, probably not showering if the waters are too dangerous. You could slip and fall, and over here's a cabin, and you don't have too much in the way of space, so make sure you don't pack heavily. I tend to be a bit of an overpacker, so I'm sure Svetlin appreciated that, but he was so patient and understanding with me there. And overall, you can see the luggage here. Yep, so I mean, this takes a minute, so initially they show you to your cabin, and then you're free to explore, walk around the deck, and you leave your luggage at the port. And this is what happens. Because obviously the entryway is a little too narrow, so they just bring it up by crane like that. It's pretty cool. Look at that luggage go. Yeah, buddy. So here's a little tour of the ship here. This is the media room where they have some games and some presentations sometimes, and it's a good place where you can have the internet. You had to purchase an internet. It was done in megabytes, so that was not too pleasant. Here's the delightful waitstaff. They were so friendly. The waitstaff was absolutely wonderful. The waitstaff and the housekeeping staff. And this is the bar. This is where the majority of the lectures, the films, and the special presentations happen. Bar payments were typically done in cash, US dollars or euros only, no Argentine pesos. And here is the mandatory safety drill. A safety drill is mandatory for all people involved with the Antarctica cruise, and Yep, as you can see, I mean, I was paying attention, even, I'm just trying to get a good shot of, you know, the beautiful Beagle Channel as we were boarding out of Ushuaia. Here's the dining room. Breakfast was a continental breakfast that had some scrambled eggs, some juices, some cereal, coffee, all that good stuff that you've come to associate with breakfast. And then we would have a 3-course lunch and dinner. The first course was a soup or salad. Then we would have this, something like this. It's a shepherd's pie. Kind of gourmet food, but if gourmet was from the 1970s, so not super fancy. And of course dessert, some ice cream, which I appreciate the irony of serving ice cream on your way to Antarctica. And over here is the Beagle Channel. The Beagle Channel was extremely windy. I had problems with balance a little bit, and you're going to see some wonky camera work and my camera strap flying all over the darn place, but yeah, that's because it was windy. Overall, though, the Beagle Channel was mild. You don't have to worry too much about losing your balance, falling down, or getting too seriously injured. Of course, don't fall into a false sense of security with that, but by and large, the Beagle Channel is something very nice and serene, and something you should subscribe to, so go ahead and click that subscribe button. Thank you, God, for tossing that one down the middle. Got to swing when they toss it down the middle. And while we look at the beautiful Beagle Channel here, I mean, you can see the flag. I mean, that puppy's going in the wind. That was some extreme wind we had, and obviously I wasn't going to put any of the audio here because it's just that wind noise, you know, and oh, some more lovely zooming. But let's talk a little bit about some things of planning the Antarctica trip. I booked pretty early for my expedition, and there's two schools of thoughts for this. So the first school of thought is you book early and then you'll be able to get a free upgrade, which I did. I got about a $10,000 room and I only paid less than $7,000, so that's pretty good. But then there's the other school of thought. There are cruises that leave daily and they have to have every seat on that cruise taken. So what you could do is head down to Ushuaia and ask travel agencies every single day, hey, are there any openings? Are there any openings? And you could luck out and get an Antarctic expedition for about $3,000, possibly even lower, you never know. But it all depends what you're comfortable doing with. I was more comfortable doing it well in advance and going ahead and getting all my ducks in a row and then crossing my fingers for an upgrade, which I was able to get, so by and large, that was what worked for me, and overall, it was a good experience. The wait staff and the housekeeping staff were fabulous. The expedition staff, and I may get into this a little bit later, the expedition staff was maybe not as oriented on customer service as the housekeeping and the food service staff. They weren't bad. They were safe and effective. But I didn't feel the customer service magic, as you may have come to expect from, like, Disney or something. But this is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it was worth it. Overall, my Antarctica trip, it was everything I hoped it would be. Our particular vessel, and I think a lot of Antarctic expeditions have this policy as well, had an open bridge policy where you could go and see the inner workings on what sailing and navigation is like there. And overall, you do have to be respectful and not bother them too much because they are concerned about your safety, but you are welcome to go and explore and ask some questions. And here is the rough Drake Passage. I'm not moving the camera up and down. This was me standing as still as I could, and it's absolutely insanity there. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you are holding on to handrails, that you've taken your seasickness medication. You need to start before the ship goes into this heavy motion here. And as you can see, my shirt and Svetlin's pants I'm leaving the camera still, and you can see that it's rocking back and forth quite a bit there. And, I mean, I didn't bring out my camera during the worst of the worst, because I don't think I could have done it safely. You have got to make sure that you are not having your hands anywhere near door frames. The doors have little hooks and latches that you can put on to make sure they don't come flying open and close, which you'll be seeing in just a few seconds there. And it is a very... Here we go. So that is a very serious health risk. We did have one passenger who got caught like that, and the doctor was able to heal her with no problem, so it wasn't an issue at all. But here's me opening the cabinet door, and then it slams shut. My hand didn't shut it there. That was it, and I'm nervously locking it now because I'm terrified. So during the Drake passage, I just sort of sat around and chilled and sang and wrote in my journal, you know. That was really all I could do. So after that really rough journey on the Drake Passage, we finally arrived to Antarctica, and as you can see, it was quite cloudy once we got there. Almost looked like nighttime, but let me assure you, in November, the sun never actually really goes down. It never gets any darker than sort of a twilight time in November. We just have really dark skies that make day and night kind of indistinguishable and academic. But before our landings, we had to go through extensive briefings, and basically the point was take only photos, leave only footprints, stay about 5 meters or yards away from penguins, 10 meters away from seals, and if a seal is messing with you, try to make yourself look big. Seals tend to be a little bit on the aggressive side, so try to make yourself look big and intimidating in front of a seal, and that should help you out. Make sure you follow all of the crew member instructions, and don't stray from the appointed path. They go ahead and put a path for you ahead of time, and make sure you don't throw any of your garbage, and don't take anything, even a pebble. Penguins rely on pebbles. And violations could result in a fine, but on to happier things, let's take a look at what I brought to Antarctica.
And we'll start with the things that I really wish I did not bring. These shoes, while they were good for the ship and they kept my feet warm while I was hanging out on the ship, by and large, they wanted us to use rubber boots for the landing, so these shoes, while they would have been great for the actual snow trekking, they didn't really prove very useful. Binoculars, this is the cheapest brand of binoculars, so I mean, if you're going to do binoculars for wildlife watching, you'll need a more expensive pair of binoculars. This thing right here is a case for the camera. I didn't really bring out my camera that much on the Zodiac, so it didn't really come into too much of a play there. Sunglasses. I have transition lenses, so that was perfectly fine for me. I did not need to worry about sunglasses. Since I did bring boots, I brought replacement strings, which makes perfect sense and something you should do if you're going to do that, but you don't need to bring your own boots. And you certainly don't need to bring boot gaiters if you go to Antarctica. And then I even brought these stupid things to make sure that these boots would stay dry, so yeah, I ended up using the rubber boots and it was no issue whatsoever. So yeah, wish I didn't bring all this garbage, but I do wish I brought hiking poles. Hiking poles are a definite must for Antarctica, so now let's go into what I actually recommend. The thing with Antarctica is layering. Oh, I am so sorry about this bad camera work here. So we got a base layer, a base undershirt of merino wool. You want merino wool for your base layer. And I think it even says here. And, of course, your pants, long johns. You don't need any underwear with these. This is your underwear, so to speak. And it's always good to, you know, bring duplicates. You know, in case you get a really wet landing. It's always a good idea to bring some duplicates. I am so sorry for the sloppy filming, everybody. And then the mid layers. For the mid layers, I use just some Champion brand fleece pants. They work perfectly. And, ooh. You see, this is actually my packing, so trying to be organized with it is. And for a mid layer, I would not recommend this. It's just a Fruit of the Loom plain cotton t-shirt. Don't use it. Because I found these got really, really sweaty when I did the landings after I came back. So, yeah, don't use that. Let's see. Again, I work in duplicates because you can always get that landing that it's just a little bit too soggy. And I guess I got 3 base layers. You don't need 3 base layers. I think 2 of each layer component would be satisfactory enough. Wool socks, oh my gosh. These are heaven. Get yourself a good pair of wool socks. And sock liners. Yeah, you can't go wrong with sock liners. And yeah, you don't need 4 base layers. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I thought one was a mid layer. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, you don't need 4 mid layer. You don't need 4 base layers of merino wool. You just don't. I bought lots of pairs of wool socks because why not? I only ever used, well, actually you'll want to put on 2 pairs at a time, and you'll want to work in duplicates. So yeah, 4 pairs really isn't that unreasonable. More liner socks there. And, of course, I didn't use this, but I got myself some briefs from Duluth Trading Company. You know, I usually wear boxers, but I was like, why not bring those along? Because reasons. And then this actually is good as a mid-layer for your top. Just a nice, pure down fleece jacket. This is entirely fleece. It served me well. It didn't sweat. It was absolutely delightful to have. And then this thing here is a neck gaiter. I didn't use it, but whatever. Yeah, I had no need for it. What I did have need for was this, the balaclava. This was very good. I could put it up on my nose when I was cold or lower it down on my mouth so it didn't fog up my glasses, so that was perfect for me, and it really kept my head warm. And then for the outer layers, outer layer you want waterproof, so these are waterproof pants, supposedly waterproof. They, they're Velcro. They didn't serve me too beautifully most of the time. I'll fold those up and put them in a little bit. And yeah, for the outer layer, you definitely want to think waterproof. And of course, a nice hat to go on top of your balaclava. This brand, I mean, it's fine, but I wish I got a size bigger because, like, the strap here broke off. So yeah, I wish I got a bigger size. And of course, the H&H waterproof raincoat. This is very good, and it served me beautifully. So, and we also have, I have in the pocket here, I may still go outside, so I won't put this away quite yet, but we have gloves. And this brand of gloves, I mean, it worked perfectly, so, you know. Yeah, this brand of gloves, I really was not worried about the cold, and I have some glove liners too, in case there was one Zodiac ride where it did get a little cold, so I put those on and everything was good. But yeah, the cold was not really that much of an issue for me. The big issue was sweating, so I'm not the person to go to for Antarctic packing, but by and large, this is what I brought to Antarctica, and the cold never really got to me, so yeah, I recommend bringing all this stuff.
So here's the final assessment of me and those delightful little gloves. They weren't too expensive, so, you know, definitely, you know, if you do your Amazon thing, if you Amazon search nice, warm material for polar exploration, you should be fine. We were lucky with the weather in Antarctica. It never really got below 35 Fahrenheit, and it was dry as a bone. But this could change with your particular visit. I've heard of visits where you couldn't really do much of anything because of the snow and ice, and, you know, I've also heard our visit was cut a little bit short because of an oncoming storm in the Drake Passage. So, you know, your mileage will definitely vary in Antarctica, but these are the Zodiacs, the fun little boats that we use to take from the ship over to the islands and the actual continent, and this is us riding on the Zodiac. You're not going to see too much in the way of footage of us riding on the Zodiac because, well, I'm already clumsy as hell, and it's not too easy to hold onto a camera. You could see the ship back there a little bit. And here we are getting ready for our Antarctic landings. Making sure, of course, that we aren't getting too close to any of the wildlife, we aren't taking anything from the landing, and we are only leaving our footprints. And, of course, it's important when you come back to go ahead and swipe off your boots with some water and those little scrubby brushes there. It's important also if you want to take some brooms on your clothing. The important thing is to prevent cross-contamination from one island to the next. And if you want to see the Antarctic landings, well, you'll have to hit the subscribe button to go ahead and see what our actual Antarctic landing experience was like. This is a return on the Beagle channel. Our return trip back was actually a lot rougher, but I was able to handle it a lot better on the Drake Passage. So overall, that was our Antarctic expedition here. They gave me a nice certificate of completion for landing on Antarctica and a survey, which, you know, I was honest. I love the housekeeping and wait staff. The expedition staff they were good, but they could have been better. You could see a little thumb drive that had all of the information, all of our daily programs, some of the maps, etc., some group photos and videos that they took. The actual flash drive isn't too terribly big. It's about 2 gigs, but, you know, whatever. I mean, they didn't have to give us straight-up USB flash drive, so I definitely appreciate that. But overall, my experience in Antarctica was a good one, and I will recommend doing an Antarctica experience. Come up with a savings plan. It is totally possible to visit Antarctica. It's not a completely distant dream. It is well within your reach, and I would even recommend Antarpply. It was a good experience. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Jordan Rolfes from Beagle Rampant Productions. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Vero, and Instagram. My handle is @JordanVonBeagle. You guys are the best. I love you, and God bless.